The moment that everything's the flip, I don't know, what do you call it? When you turn on a light switch.
The table was wiped
and
clean.
The table was wiped clean, and I was like, oh my gosh, I had the biggest epiphany ever when I found out about extreme ownership.
Yes.
That was like one of the biggest light switch moments in my entire life. And to this day, it's my number one piece of marriage advice is extreme ownership. And that basically what extreme ownership is that.
Yes.
It's like
100%.
You stop evaluating all the performance around, because as a boss, what do you want to do? You want to blame your employees. Oh my gosh, they're not doing their job. As a husband, you want to blame your kids and your wife. My wife is X. As a friend, you want to say, well, they're a very good friend. And extreme ownership flipped the whole script on me. They're like, no. Forget all that nonsense. What are you doing?
Yeah.
How are you getting better? What is your part in this? What is your role in this? And I have literally, ever since that epiphany in my life, I've told everybody to read the book. It's called Extreme Ownership.
Great.
And that has profoundly impacted me.
Welcome back to another episode of the Married with Mujicas podcast. We are so excited that you're here. We are Richard and Hailey Mujica. We have been married for 12 years. We have 4 kids. We homeschool. We run a home-based business, and we're very beginner homesteaders. Lots of home happens in our lives, and we are super passionate about marriage and just started this whole thing because we wanted to share that with the world and hopefully
That's right.
change some lives, change some perspectives. That was our goal.
That's right.
And so that's why we're here. And our slogan on this show is building a marriage you love coming home to.
Amen to that, sister.
Yes. So how are you, babe?
I am doing good. By the way, how did you come up with that slogan? Because I want to say that was like your design.
That one was me. I knew I wanted it to encompass home in some way because home is such like
Where the heart is.
Yes. And so I will say that so we recently moved onto our property like within the last couple months.
Yeah.
And this is the first home that we've lived in that I've like really felt connected to. Up until that point, I was very much like home is just your husband and home is your family and wherever they are is home. And I do still feel that way.
Yeah.
But that was why I really wanted it to.
Well, this is the dream. This is the dream, right? This is what you're trying to get to. It's like, hey, every little thing we're doing was like building up, and now it's here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Very exciting. But yeah, I'm doing good.
You're good?
Yeah, I'm caffeinated. We got the whole thing. We got Ishmael in the audience.
Here again.
Yeah, this is like, nice. He's the guy behind like, the whole live stuff. So, by the way, we're also live on YouTube if you like YouTube better. Yeah.
That's new.
100%.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So, how are you doing?
Oh my gosh, I'm good. But I'm so tired, to be honest. Oh my gosh. Last night.
I rolled over at 4 a.m. I saw you on your phone.
Literally, I've been up since 4. I was just like answering DMs because truthfully, I got a couple DMs yesterday that were like super thoughtful and thought-provoking.
Yeah.
That I was busy with the kids. I was like, okay, I want to get back to this one later. And then forgot to get back to it. So then I woke up in the middle of the night and was like, oh my gosh, I need to answer these DMs. And so I was in the DMs for a little bit. And then the dog was barking.
My gosh, the dogs, man.
We have 4 dogs. We have
us.
one dog in particular that won't come in the house. So long story short, he was a rescue dog from Kuwait. And so he's just like.
Weird dog.
Just very different. He thinks he's a wild animal. He would have been happier to have been left in the wild desert of Kuwait, I think.
Yeah.
So he won't come inside. And there must have been a coyote or something because he was barking like crazy. So I've been up since 4, and I'm tired. You do, and you do this sometimes. Like you get up really early. I don't know how you do it. I'm tired.
For you, it's like a little bit different. For me, it's I get up pretty early.
Yeah,
anyways.
4 is not too crazy.
Yeah, it's not too crazy.
But other than that, I'm good.
Okay, good.
We've got like this heat wave rolling through California right now. So we're literally in like the high 90s. Like we're talking summer temperature right now. But it's been so much fun because this is our first home where we've ever had a pool. And so the kids are just swimming all day. And we've had cousins over and the dogs will swim. And it's been really fun. Oh, it's
fantastic. You can't beat it.
It's been really fun. So last week on the podcast, we talked about in-laws.
I'm glad you remembered.
I did. I actually had to jog my memory before we started, but I got there. But we talked about in-laws and specifically why your in-laws are not the problem. Your marriage and your spouse has full control here. And that if there is an in-law problem, it's not with them, it's with you guys.
Yep.
So
full ownership.
So that was a big portion of it. And also the premise of like obeying versus respecting your parents and how that changes as you're an adult.
Yeah. I think it was a fire episode.
I thought it was good.
I think there's a lot of value in that one.
Yeah. Because, I mean, as much as we love our in-laws and we've talked very openly about how much we love them, of course, there have been challenges along the road, and we were very kind of open and honest about what those challenges have been and how we've navigated it. And
yeah, a couple fist fights solves a lot of things.
Solves a lot of stop. You always say that. There's never been a fist fight.
Yep.
So, and today on the podcast, so if you guys don't know, Richard is the man behind every carousel we post. He creates all of them. So
Captain Carousel. I'm gonna get a shirt.
He's Captain, and he's like gotten really, really good at it. And so literally he'll make them and post them, and then I'll just go through and read them. I get to read them like all of you guys. And I was going through and I was reading today's carousel, and it was so good and so convicting. When we got here today, I was like, babe, we have to talk about this because this is a really good one.
Yeah.
So because you guys are hearing this a couple weeks after, the carousel that he posted today was the one about what if your spouse wasn't the gift to you? What if you are the gift for your spouse?
That's right.
And it asks the question, what if your spouse is disappointed in their gift? Right? We have such a self-focus of like, we are constantly grading our spouse and, oh, did I marry the wrong person? And, oh, are they meeting my needs? And, oh, this gift isn't what I wanted.
100%.
What if you're not the gift your spouse wanted?
What about that?
What if we flipped it that way?
Take that.
I just thought it was so profound and so convicting. I wanted to talk about it.
It's great.
So that's what we're talking about today.
This is going to be epic.
It's going to be good.
Yeah. So a little insight on that carousel, right? So as I was actually doing it, I was thinking about how much of a gift that you were to me. And early on in marriage, like, and I was going into marriage thinking the other way, right? It's like, oh man, what am I going to get out of this marriage, right? How is she going to fulfill my needs? How are you going to fulfill my needs? It's going to be so much better because now I get this gift from you. And I'll be honest, I didn't have like, oh, I'm going to present this gift to my spouse. Like that was not my mentality at all. But as I was making the carousel, I was like, man, this is like so beautiful because, I mean, just straight away in our marriage, you were such a gift to me. You know, you challenged me, you helped me get better, you helped me think bigger, you helped me just become a better man, you helped me believe in myself, you helped me in so many ways. And I was just thinking about all the ways that you were a gift to me, you know? And then I tried to reverse it. I was like, well, how many ways was I a gift to Hailey, right? And I couldn't name that many. I mean,
please.
You know, now keep in mind, look, I've always been me, right? So I'm funny, I make you laugh, you know, good. But in terms of like the real tangible things that I was bringing, because again, I wasn't well developed at that stage in our marriage to even, you know how it's like you can't give what you don't have. Mm-hmm. I think I could give more, but if I had it. You know, I just didn't have a lot to give at that stage. Hopefully I have a lot more to give you. But anyways, I just preface it with that because you have been such a gift to me. And I think you are the epitome of that carousel. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
We'll take that one. Yeah.
That's very kind. But another thing that was pointed out in this carousel and stuff was that I think the big problem is that we live in such a consumer-driven society where the focus is always on self and on what am I getting and how does this serve me and how does this benefit me? And
that's right.
And so it can be really challenging to flip that on ourselves and to force ourselves to look at it a different way. And I think that was the really, really challenging part, but so profound. So
yeah,
where do you want to start with this?
Well, let's go with the scriptural foundation of it, because I think that's important, right? Like why, where in the Bible does it talk about this? So a couple things. So Mark 10:45 is the one that I quoted in the scripture, right? And that says, "For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and give his life as a ransom for many," right? And so Jesus modeled this perfectly for us. And he even says it, like the reason why he came was all about serving humanity.
Well, and thank God he didn't sit there and say, oh, but are they good enough? And do they deserve it? And are they going to be able to do anything for me? Because if he had done that, he wouldn't have come and we'd all be in big trouble, right?
100%.
But that wasn't the point.
100%. And as I was making this carousel, I was thinking about these points. Genesis 2:18 through 22. Then the Lord God said, it is not good for the man that the man should be alone. I will make him a helper fit for him. Right? Mm-hmm. So why did God make Eve? Made him to help.
Okay.
And be a gift.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. But I loved this point.
Yeah.
Because the word that God uses for helper, I'm assuming it's, what would it have been? Hebrew?
Yeah. Was it? Yeah. It's
Ezer or Ezer, whatever.
Ezer, yeah.
But that word that he uses as helper is the same word he uses for God helping Israel. Mm-hmm. Right? So it's not like literally Israel, there were so many circumstances throughout the Old Testament where Israel would have been demolished without God.
Yeah.
It wasn't that the helper came along to like prop you up and make you look pretty. Like they literally came to save you.
Yeah.
Like that's what that word means.
Yeah.
It's the same word that they ascribe to God helping Israel.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
like
heavy.
that was really profound to me.
It's heavy.
It's not just like a cute, okay, I'll keep the house clean while you go to work and that's how I help. It's like, no, I literally save you. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not just this cute supporting role. It's a vital role.
Yeah. 100%. I'm glad you brought that up. Mm-hmm. Philippians 2:3-4. Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Mm-hmm. Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others. And then the last one.
Hold on, because I have one thing to say.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you know my favorite definition of humility?
What is it?
I've told you and I've told the kids this 1,000 times.
Yeah, what is it?
Humility is not thinking little of yourself. It's thinking of yourself little.
Yeah, thinking of yourself little.
Right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Like you just flip those two words around and it changes the entire context.
That's right.
You don't have to think little of yourself. As a wife and as a woman, and I come and I submit to you, it's not because I think that I'm so weak and poor Hailey, I could never do it on my own, and so I have to submit to a man. It's because I'm thinking of myself little, right? Like it's not a demeaning of myself. It's not about me. You know what I mean?
100%.
That's my favorite definition of humility.
You're excited about that.
I was. That verse used the word humility a couple times, and I had to share.
But anyways, I mean, so that is the scriptural foundation of that carousel. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, where do you want to take it? So look, here's the thing. So you have the consumer mindset versus the gift mindset. Let me throw some of these out at you. I want to get your reactions to these, okay? So this is what the consumer asks, and this is what you hear all the time, right? What am I getting out of this marriage? That's what the consumer asks. You want to know what the gift asks? It says, what am I bringing to this marriage? Mm-hmm. What's your reactions on that? Because look, when I first got married, and up until, I mean, I still like battle this.
Oh, for sure.
Like I'm always battling this. What am I getting out of this marriage? Like I want to ask myself that question all the time, right? Like it's because I'm always thinking about me. I'm always thinking about like, what am I getting? Why, what, you know, like it's just so, and this carousel just convicted me so much in marriage. I was like, dude, why, you know, how often do I ask the gift question? And it's not often.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Well, I can give a personal story here that is very recent.
Yeah.
And honestly, probably why this hit me so hard. I'm like embarrassed to even share this.
Is this the one that you brought up the other day when you apologized about?
No, this is different.
A whole other thing. Okay.
This is even more embarrassing maybe, but I'm going to share it anyway because why not?
That embarrassing, huh?
Well, no, this is so stupid.
Okay.
So we got rid of our housekeeper 2 months ago, right?
Oh yeah, we did.
And so I've been doing like the deep cleaning of our house every Saturday.
You're gonna go there, huh?
Oh, I'm going there. So I've been doing the deep cleaning every Saturday, right? Takes me like 8 hours, and it's a lot of work, right? It's just a lot of work.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'll be in the middle of cleaning, and then the kids will be outside, and then they'll walk inside, and they'll leave dusty footprints where I just mopped, or they'll come in and they'll drop a bag of chips or this wasn't even the kids, this was Richard. Dropped a bag of chips in the kitchen, like literally right after I finished cleaning the kitchen.
It was a mistake.
It was a mistake. But let me tell you the God's honest truth. I was not just this one circumstance. I have not been gracious about this. And I could look at this as like, okay, this is my way of serving my family. And I have not. I have been the ultimate martyr every Saturday for the last 2 months.
I felt it. I felt it.
Richard's like, I felt it. Babe, you're calling the housekeeper this week? This is not worth
Never
it.
again are we going without a housekeeper. Let's just put it that way. I'm like, this ain't the way to do it.
But I think that's why this was so convicting, because I was like, man, I have not been like looking at how I can serve my family. I have been just like feeling sorry for myself. And how ugly is that? Oh, I'm still embarrassed about this.
I'm still embarrassed about it. Yeah. Well, anyways, we're going to solve that problem.
But we're not. We are.
Yeah.
But it's not solving the heart issue, which is with me. And I'm going to work on it.
Yeah, for sure. But again, I'm going to give you some grace.
Thank you.
Because you're a gift in a lot of ways.
Thank you.
So again, you just got to change these questions around, right? And as you're listening to this podcast, you can really evaluate yourself. Like, how am I looking at my marriage on a very daily basis? And like, again, it's going to convict all of us.
Yes. That's what I want people to know is like, this is a perfect example of like when we post something and share it on Instagram that like convicts us and challenges us and teaches us in some way. Like this is not just us on a soapbox teaching everybody else how they should be married. Like we do ugly things, like throw a fit when you're cleaning the house.
Oh my gosh. We're humans, you know what I'm saying? And so that's why all the content, like to your, like I find no value in content that doesn't drive better behavior.
Right.
And so if I post something, I want it to convict me. I want it to remind me how to be a better husband, how to be a better man, how to be a better father, right?
Yeah, that's the best stuff.
Yeah, and so all of our carousels are that. And I think that's why people actually enjoy them. It's like, dude, I felt convicted because of this.
Yeah. Well, my favorite carousel...
And it's not my opinions, by the way. I try to back it up with Scripture.
My favorite carousel you've ever made is the one about husbands having to die for their wives and wives having to respect their husbands.
That was a good
one. It's my favorite one you ever did.
That was my favorite, actually.
That was my favorite one ever.
Even when I posted it, I told you, this is my favorite one that I've ever,
Yeah.
So that was number one. Number two, consumer asks, you're not meeting my needs. Okay? The gift asks or says, how can I meet yours? And so it's not that your needs are not important or not that they're not valid or that your spouse shouldn't meet your needs. However, when you're going into the marriage and you're looking at your spouse, hopefully the first question you can start asking is, how do I meet the needs of my spouse? And there's something called, again, we do sales, right? So we've gone on to build a sales organization. We're always doing sales calls. And something that we talk about a lot is the law of reciprocity, right? And the law of reciprocity is this, is that when I do something for somebody else, they are much more likely to do something for me. And so it's counterintuitive because you would think like, oh, well, if I want something from somebody, I'm just going to like...
I have to go get it.
I have to go get it, right? But actually the best thing to get something from somebody is to give them something. So it's like, we also have this other principle where it's like, you give what you want to receive, right? If I want respect from my wife, I'm going to give her respect. If I want somebody to like me, I'm going to like them first. Right? If I want somebody to treat me well, what am I going to do? I'm going to treat them well. If I want somebody to trust me, I'm going to give them trust. So that has always worked out well for me. And I think it's no different in this statement. It's like, how can I meet your needs? And because when I meet your needs, what are you more likely to do? You're more likely to turn around and meet my needs.
Yeah. Well, and what's really interesting about that premise is like, as soon as you start asking the question, but what about my needs?
That's right.
You're on the wrong track already.
You've lost the frame.
Like the whole point is that you're thinking, how can I meet your needs? And that's where your thought stops, right? And then it's your spouse's job to ask the question, how do I meet your needs? And to be very clear, we are talking to both spouses in this situation. This is not a podcast for wives. This is for husbands and wives.
That's right.
Both of you are required to do this. This is not a weapon to hold over your spouse and say, oh, you have to do this. No, you both have to do it.
100%.
But when you both do it, it works really well. But if you're not doing it, if you tell yourself, well, yeah, I do it all the time, but then he's not meeting my needs. It's like, well, then you're not doing it. Just that question alone is not doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think in a very practical sense, early on in our marriage, now, again, always in our marriage, but early on, you probably felt this firsthand. When I didn't have that much to give, you gave everything to me, right? I just said in the beginning of our marriage, you helped me think bigger, dream bigger, believe in me, help me with my leadership. And then what did I do in return, right? I had reciprocity. I started becoming better. I started dreaming bigger. I started pursuing different things. And because of that all benefited
Yeah.
the things that you were giving me.
It's funny that you look at it that way, because to me, I didn't have anything to give either. Like, we were very much learning and growing together. I don't feel like I was teaching you anything that then you had to, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't ever feel like I was giving.
It's not even from a teaching standpoint. Like, it wasn't teaching.
No.
It was from a way you treated me standpoint. Do you know what I'm saying? It wasn't like, oh, hey, I'm so smart, I'm going to teach Rich all these things.
That was never.
It was more so, here's the things that I can give to Rich to hopefully help him be better. You know, and you that's the way I look at it. You know what I'm saying? And so you did that early on in our marriage, and I think I've gone on to reciprocate all the things that you've helped me to
yeah.
do.
Well, and the way I would think about that season of our life is that, like, we've talked about this a million times, but as a wife, you're called to respect your husband, not just the ultra respectable ones. You're called to respect the husband that's right in front of you. Not once he's super respectable, but right now, who he is.
Yeah, that's a command.
And, you know, you're called to love your husband. You're called to serve your husband. You're called to submit to your husband. Not the better version you want them to be, that the person they are now. And that, in that, they can kind of grow and become better. But I felt like at that time, as a 23-year-old brand new wife, I respected you as a leader because you were the man in front of me. And then you've grown into an excellent leader, not necessarily.
Yeah.
But I was still required to submit to your leadership regardless of where you were on that journey. And you've just grown a lot.
By the way, if you're a wife out there and you're like, hey, man, how do I help my husband become a better leader? Just DM my wife, because whatever she did worked. She'll give you some good feedback on that. Okay, so you're not meeting my needs. How can I meet yours? That's the second one, right? Mm-hmm. Third, the consumer. The consumer evaluates their spouse's performance. Mm-hmm. You're always evaluating, you know, hey, did they do that well? Did they do that well? The gift says, how can I meet yours? No. How can I evaluate their own faithfulness?
Yes. And that's the only thing you should ever be evaluating as a spouse.
Man, that's a good one.
Yes.
Talk about that.
I mean, I don't even think there's that much that has to be said. That's just like a mic drop moment.
Yeah.
Like, stop evaluating your spouse and all of their behavior and evaluate your own.
Yes. Man, I didn't do this obviously early on in our marriage. Like I didn't consciously do it, right? But the moment that everything the flip, I don't know, what do you call it? That when you turn on a light switch,
the table was wiped clean.
The table was wiped clean, and I was like, oh my gosh, I had the biggest epiphany ever when I found out about extreme ownership.
Yes.
That was like one of the biggest light switch moments in my entire life. And to this day, it's my number one piece of marriage advice is extreme ownership. And that basically what extreme ownership is that.
Yes.
It's like
100%.
you stop evaluating all the performance around, because as a boss, what do you want to do? You want to blame your employees. Oh my gosh, they're not doing their job. As a husband, you want to blame your kids and your wife. My wife is X. As a friend, you want to say, well, they're not a very good friend. And extreme ownership flipped the whole script on me. They're like, no. Forget all that nonsense. What are you doing?
Yeah.
How are you getting better? What is your part in this? What is your role in this? And I have literally, ever since that epiphany in my life, I've told everybody to read the book. It's called Extreme Ownership.
Great book.
And that has profoundly impacted my life.
We have a picture of you and Jocko Willink.
I met Jocko.
We're going to send it to Ishmael and he can put it up.
Yeah, funny little story with Jocko. You meet the dude, he looks like a pit bull. He looks like he's going to kill you.
He probably could.
He wants to kill you. No,
no, he could if he wanted to that.
Yeah, he's an ex-Navy SEAL, super, cool dude. But I shook his hand and I said, hey, dude, look, what is the best piece of advice you've ever been given? Right? And he looks me in the face. By the way, when you get stared in the face with a Navy SEAL, it's kind of scary. Like the dude's looking through your soul. He goes, discipline equals freedom. Yeah. And he has another principle, which is discipline equals freedom. And I have found that to be true.
Yeah.
The more discipline you have, the more freedom you're going to have in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyways, this one right here, I think comes a little bit more naturally to me now, all because of that framework.
Yes.
And it's served me well.
Yeah. And we've talked about that concept a lot because it's, like Richard said, it's probably our best piece of marriage or life advice we could give anyone. Yeah. But I think that can rub some people wrong until they really think about the fact that any other way you choose to look at a situation and you're completely powerless. The only way you have power and control is if you try to look at how did I contribute to this and how can I fix it? Otherwise, you're just a sad victim, and nobody wants to be that. We're not going to allow that.
Ain't gonna happen here.
Not here.
Yeah, we tell our kids all the time. Listen up, man.
No victims here.
No victims here. Okay, that one was good.
Mm-hmm.
The consumer threatens to leave when it gets hard. The gift asks, am I the reason it's hard?
That's kind of similar in concept. But
Extreme
yeah.
ownership. Yeah. What's your part?
What's your part?
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the questions it asks, which maybe this is the next one, maybe I should hold my tongue, but it asks like, would your spouse return you as a gift if they could? Like, is your spouse satisfied with the gift they have?
That's right.
Ow.
That's right.
Ouch. Like
Yeah.
that's the question you need to be asking yourself.
Yeah.
Not do I want to keep the gift?
Yeah. And here's the lie. You want to know the lie that consumerism promises you?
You'll find something better.
Not necessarily that. It's the lie is that once I get the thing, I'll be happy. That is the root of the lie. Because you're on Instagram, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, this thing is awesome. If I just had this in my family, my kids would be happy. My wife would love it. I'll be fulfilled, right? That's the promise of all consumerism. And then what happens? You get the thing, and then like a day later, a week later, it wears off. You're like, I found the next thing. This thing is going to be more awesome, right?
Yeah.
And so it's no different in your marriage. Like the lie that consumerism in marriage says is that once I get X, I'm going to love my husband more. It's the biggest lie, because when do you feel most fulfilled in your life? In my life. And Jesus set the framework for this. We feel most fulfilled when we give.
When we serve, yeah.
When I give somebody, like, for example, you probably feel really good when somebody sends you a DM and says, oh my gosh, your content is changing my life. Like,
that's my favorite DM.
That's your favorite DM ever, right? That's when you feel most aligned and most. It's not when it's like, oh, hey, I don't know, I can't think of an example, but it's not the opposite.
Yeah.
And so the promise the promise of consumerism sounds so great until you realize it's actually the opposite of what's going to make you fulfilled. Mm-hmm. So,
well, I have a silly example of this, but like, I have this thing that like I like to get pets, right? And so my question whenever we get a new pet is always like, why not? Some people are like, why do you need another pet? And I'm like, why not?
Yeah.
And so just this week we got 2 new kittens, right? And long story short, a friend of ours had gotten them for his son and then found out his son was allergic, was like, hey, do you want these kittens? I'm like, yeah, bring them over.
Yeah.
So we get these kittens, and literally my son was like, Mom, we get animals so often, like this isn't even like exciting. Like most people would be really excited to get a cat, and I'm like, whatever, because we just had chickens last week. You know what I mean? Like it's just such a normal but like that's consumerism in a nutshell.
Yeah.
It like loses all of its excitement when you're just like getting all the time.
100%. And it's crazy.
It doesn't satisfy.
Yeah, it's crazy how the human adapts to every situation so quickly.
They can make normal out of anything.
Yeah, anything becomes normal. Yeah, you have an increase of income. It feels great for a month. Then you're like used to it. You're like, oh my gosh, what now? What next? Right? Mm-hmm. It's like it's crazy how that works. Mm-hmm. And the last one is the consumer says, I deserve better. The gift says, do they deserve better from me?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's my favorite question.
Yeah. Man, you know what, dude? If we just did this, like, again, I'm talking to myself. If I just did what I knew from this episode alone, how much better my life would be.
Yeah.
It's just so hard to, like, keep doing it and keep, like, not thinking of myself and laying myself down over and over. It's, like, so hard.
Yeah. Do they deserve better from me?
Yeah.
And the answer is probably almost always yes. I mean, always.
Always and forever. What are your thoughts?
Those are really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you add? What would you...
I can't think of anything to add. I thought that was pretty comprehensive.
Okay. So, the gift audit.
Okay.
You ready for this?
I'm ready for it.
I don't think you're ready for it. 3 questions every spouse should ask themselves monthly. Okay. What if my spouse could write an honest review of me as a partner this month? What would they say? It's almost like a product review. By the way, this is actually a great segment right here to drop in Spark Check-In.
Yeah.
So a lot of these conversations, what happens in marriage, they just don't come up, right? So me and Hailey, and probably one of the most uncertain seasons of our life, right? When we were building a business, I left my 9-to-5 job, we moved away, craziness. We had 3 kids, 1 in the belly, money draining our bank account, working, it was just a very difficult season for us to connect. And we had this practice of every week we would get together and we would answer the same questions, and it would align us on connection, intimacy, finances, goals, dreams, everything. And it probably helped us more than we could possibly even describe, right? And so then Hailey and I were like, dude, every marriage needs to do this. That's why we created sparkchecking.com, where you and your spouse have an honest conversation each week, and it's guided, and it's around 9 areas in your marriage. And so like your spouse answers, your other spouse answers, and then you don't even know how your spouse is answering, but then you come together and you see where you're aligned and where you're not. And anyways, Hailey and I made this. It's the first link in the description down below. And it's been just an awesome thing.
Yes, for sure.
In our marriage. So with that being said, how would you rate your spouse? Right?
Okay, well, I have a question about this because the whole premise is that you're not you're not evaluating your spouse, right?
Yeah.
But you're evaluating yourself.
I'm sorry. Yeah, but it's no.
How would your spouse evaluate you?
How would your spouse evaluate you?
Right.
Exactly.
But because this pertains to both spouses, and both spouses aren't supposed to be doing that, right? We're not supposed to evaluate our spouse. So how do you ask your spouse that question without kind of trapping them in evaluating you? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's not really. It's not really. You're not asking your spouse. It's
you're
saying,
not really. So you're
it's like if my spouse can write. You're asking yourself. So you're basically evaluating yourself through this question, because what you're doing is you're trying to look at it from the lens of your spouse, evaluating yourself, but you're never asking your spouse. You're just you're just trying to figure out, am I being the gift?
But I do think it can always be beneficial to ask your spouse that question, like, "Hey, how am I doing? Like, how are you?"
Which is what Spark Check-in does.
And I think I think that's good.
Yeah.
But it is kind of a hard, like, okay, you don't want to put your spouse in the position of having to evaluate you and getting them in that mindset. But at the same time, you want to know how they're feeling and you know what I mean? So it's kind of that's a tricky one. Do you have any thoughts there? I don't know if you have an answer to that.
So you find it tricky because you feel like you're evaluating the other person?
No, but because you're putting them in a place to evaluate you. And the whole premise of this is that neither spouse is supposed to be doing that. You know what I mean?
Yes. But I think the other side of it is that from just a very human side is that by looking at it from the lens of the spouse, the real beneficiary is not it's you, because you're grading yourself essentially.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, kind of, sort of.
Kind of, sort of.
Yeah. Well, hey, look. You better like it.
I do like it.
Question number 2. What did I give to my marriage this month that cost me something?
I like that question.
Time, comfort, pride, preference. If nothing costs you anything, you weren't giving. You were coasting.
Okay, I like that.
All right. You have to give some type of resource. By the way, you want to hear something on resources that changed the game for me?
Yeah.
So this guy he makes this. He goes, "Hey, Rich, you want to know why people treat time so poorly?" He's like, everybody knows it's one of the most important resources that we have, time, right? If you ask people, what would you rather have, time or money? They're like, oh, of course I'd rather have time, right? And he asked me, he's like, well, why do people waste time then? If they know it's the most important, valuable thing in their life, why do they waste it? And he answered me profoundly. He says, it's because it's the only resource that you get for free. You don't have to work for time. It doesn't cost you anything, like in the sense of it, right?
Yeah.
And when he said that, I was like, dang, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
That's why we waste it.
Yeah. We take it for granted.
Take it for granted. Exactly. Okay. Would my spouse choose the gift again?
I love that question.
Would you choose me again?
Every time.
Oh, yeah.
Give me a lineup of 4 million men in the world, and I would every time.
Yeah. Well, hey, you know what? Maybe let's try it. Let's see.
Put me to it. I promise you I would. I think you and Jason Momoa would be my final 2, but I would still pick you at the end.
Yeah, Jason Momoa. Yeah, he's the dude. He's the dude. But yeah, thoughts?
I think I think that slide in the carousel was the most convicting part for me. Is like, would your spouse choose you again, or like?
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, but until I read that, I don't think I've ever asked myself that question. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
It was good.
I like it. Well, do you have a story? Do you have anything you would add to it?
No.
Nothing? Nothing cross your mind? No?
Do you?
No,
Okay.
I don't. What about a personal story? Like, for example, look, if people struggle in this area, they're like, yeah, this is nice. This sounds great. I would love to adopt. But here's the reality is that my spouse, my significant other is not doing what they need to be doing, right? Like they're not living up to the standards that they should be living up to. They're not reciprocating. I'm trying hard. I'm doing the stuff. I'm working on myself. But they're just not reciprocating. What's the thought process there?
I mean, I will acknowledge that sucks.
Yeah.
I'll sit here with you and I'll tell you, man, that sucks.
Yeah, for sure.
And I will fully acknowledge that some people, via their own choices that they've made, right, probably have it harder here than others, right? Where you're going to have spouses that really dig their heels in and are just more selfish and are more self-serving, and that sucks. But it doesn't release you from the calling. And in fact, like we've done carousels about this before too, where sometimes the hard is the refining. Like sometimes that's what God uses to refine you. Even though it's uncomfortable and even though we don't like it, and even though I wish marriage was just like, I wish everybody could work on developing themselves enough that like they could enjoy their marriage as a couple. But that's not the reality for everyone. And I wish it was, but it's not. But it doesn't release the calling, short of abuse or infidelity, right? Those are the two, abandonment, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
infidelity, where you are released from the from the calling. Until that, like just being unhappy or just not getting your way or just sometimes those can be the things that really develop your character the most.
Yeah.
And I know that's not what people want to hear. I get it.
Fire, yeah. Well, and even Paul says, he says that it's actually simpler and easier to not get married, right? Like that is, however, and the reason why he says that is because your attention's divided now, right? Like to like in a perfect world, you would devote your devotion to God, right? Like you would become more Christ-like. You would be focused on that. And then when you get married, now your attention's divided. You have other things besides just putting your full devotion into Jesus. And it becomes not as simple, right?
Well,
it's just not as simple.
I do take a little bit of issue with that interpretation because I don't think that's entirely true, and I don't think that's entirely what Paul meant.
Yeah.
Because he does say...
What's your interpretation of it?
I think that Paul is saying like, hey, sometimes I think being married and serving your family and serving your marriage, that can be service to the Lord and that can be steps to holiness. So I don't think being married removes you from the Lord or removes you from holiness or divides your attention.
Yeah.
But I think what he is saying is that when you're married, it requires so much selflessness and so much service, and that is unnatural to you as a human, that you're going to be required to do every single day, that
it's going to be tough.
So much of your energy is going to go towards building yourself up in these ways where if you were single, you wouldn't have to worry about that so much. You could just focus on building something else.
Something else.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I probably preface it in a way that like, getting married is not as holy as staying single. I didn't mean that.
I completely reject that belief.
Yeah. That's not what I was trying to say. But what Paul is saying is that it is simpler.
Yes.
It's simpler. It's a simpler way to go because of what you literally just said.
But
the daily sacrifices of the marriage, because I mean the rules of the game are pretty intense, right? Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church, which is almost an unfathomable calling on a guy, right? That is so hard to meet up. And then the wife is like, respect your husband. Yeah, but what if? No, respect. Yeah, but what if? No, respect. So it's like, it's so tough and it requires so much of you.
Yes.
That is.
But God's original design before the fall was marriage.
Yeah.
And like, there's very, 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 very few people scripturally that have the gift of celibacy, right? And that is a gift, but it's very, very rare. And so I don't want people to hear that and think that somehow being single is better. I don't think that's what Paul's saying.
No, I don't think it is. It's simpler.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Closing thoughts, closing remarks.
I just think this is like, literally, this is one of those daily practices. I don't think you're ever going to like naturally, I don't think any of us are ever going to naturally do this, right? This is something that we daily have to discipline and submit ourselves to asking this question and like forcing ourselves to look at ourselves this way instead of how is he serving me? What am I getting out of this? And looking at would he choose me as a gift again? I just think, and okay, we're always so quick to judge ourselves by our intent and everyone else by their behavior.
By their behavior,
right?
that's right.
And so if your husband's thinking, man, I don't think I would choose this wife again, but you're judging yourself based off your intent. And you're like, well, I didn't mean to, and I want to, and I really wanted to submit to him, but whatever. But you're looking at your husband, you're judging his behavior, and you're like, but he didn't love me and he didn't take care of me, and he's like, but no, but I really wanted to, but she just like,
Yeah.
Judge everyone by their intent, yourself and your spouse.
Yeah. I like it, babes. Well, I think that's the pod, huh?
Yeah. That's a good one.
That's a good one.
So if you guys have any questions, throw them in while we finish up these last few things, and Ishmael can share them with us. But as always, please like, subscribe, follow. We are on Instagram, YouTube,
The
Facebook.
best one's Instagram.
Yes.
Yeah,
Instagram.
just Instagram, yeah.
I'll tell you guys. So, and YouTube. Instagram and YouTube are the
for
only
sure.
two that Richard and I are actually in. So if you DM us on Instagram, you were talking to one of us.
Yeah.
We see every comment. I don't even have a TikTok. So I know we're over there, but like I've never seen it in my life.
Yeah, we have a TikTok. It's just,
there.
It's there. Yeah.
But so if that's your jam, you can get all our content there, but you just won't be able to talk to us. And
Jam out.
all the podcast platforms, what are they? Spotify, Apple Podcast.
Yeah, all the good stuff.
Married with the Mujicas at all of those. And
doubt
please
about it.
share it with your friends.
That's the biggest
Come
compliment we
say
can
hi.
get.
Yes. Come say hi to us.
It's also how you can help the most people share
Yes.
it. Yeah.
Yep. Leave a review. I don't know. Any other podcasty things
All
that we're
the good
supposed to
stuff.
say?
Yeah, all the good stuff. Prayer challenge.
Yes. The
Yeah,
prayer challenge.
Yes. Just comment prayer on any comment on Instagram. Just go to any post, comment prayer. We'll get you in the prayer challenge. That has by far been probably the best feedback we've gotten on anything.
Yes.
People every day like, oh my gosh, I'm going through the prayer. Like, and we get some disgruntled people. They're like, hey, I got 3 of them. I didn't get day 4. I didn't
Where
get
is
day
it?
5. Where's my stuff? So yeah, people have been loving that.
Yeah. And you guys should know, Richard is truly the mastermind behind Married with the Mujicas. So I told you guys, he created all the carousels. He created the 7-day prayer challenge. It's just like really amazing work. I literally just show up and talk on the podcast and answer DMs. That's about my contribution. But Richard is really the brain, and he's more brilliant than he'll let on. But that's been a really fun project to watch you do. Richard, I always say that we created Spark Check-In. That was 100% Richard. I just offered some feedback.
Based off of what we did. Sweet.
All right. Thank you, guys.
That's the pod. All right, guys. We'll see you for the next one.
All right.
Bye.